I'm Dylan Ratigan. I've interviewed nearly every CEO and most world leaders during the past 25 years. And now on Bootstrapping, I'm turning my attention to the new CEOs and the irrepressible entrepreneurs leading the next generation of innovation in the world.
Welcome back to tastylive. I am Dylan Ratigan. Joining us now, Brianna Ronco, the founder and chief scientific officer at a company called HughDX. This, our latest episode of Bootstrapping in partnership with our friends at Republic. And HughDX is a biotechnology company specialized in trying to accelerate and make easier the development of diagnostic testing and diagnostics in general to more quickly and more easily understand what a given person or community, for that matter, may be suffering from. Brianna, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. I am looking forward to chatting with you further.
So obviously diagnostics is a massive, massive piece of the entire medical field. From reading the description of HughDX, which is raising money now on Republic, which has raised $5 million already, I understand, in the past, what specific innovation is HughDX bringing to the diagnostics field?
That's a great question. What we found from developing our own diagnostics is that, there's not a lot that exists out there in the point of care space. You can't walk into your doctor's office today and walk out with answers, even though upwards of 70% of doctor's visits require some sort of diagnostic to give you the actual why you're there, the reason for why you're there. So what we're doing and what we realized was the development of a platform to place your diagnostics on is very difficult and time consuming. We figured out how to do that, and we've placed some of our own diagnostics on the platform. But now what we do is we partner with other individuals to help them place their diagnostics on our platform that consists of a Hugh card and then also consists of our mobile app, which uses a ton of artificial intelligence and other colorimetric technology that gives them a quantitative result very quickly.
So give me a very specific example of how it was before and how it would be now.
Sure. So say somebody needs to find out whether or not they have mono. We'll use mono, for example. They're going to go to LabCorp or Quest or their doctor's office's blood draw. They're going to get blood drawn and they're going to wait several days for a result. They're going to need their doctor to call and confirm that result with them, confirm a treatment plan. What we do is we work with two different people, right? We work with developers of diagnostics. They can put their mono test right on our platform, expedited. We expedite that transference process for them. But the second part is when that patient goes to the doctor and they have one of our cards that has a test on it, for example, mono, they can then get their results in under an hour and walk out of the treatment office with the treatment plan in place, not having to ask.
But slow down. How does that work? So I go into the doctor, I have a Hugh card, the mono diagnostic is on the Hugh card. They take my blood at the doctor's office.
Correct.
I pull out my Hugh card.
The doctor would have the Hugh card. So they would stock it just like they stock right now, like rapid flu, rapid strep, that kind of stuff.
The doctor would have a Hugh card.
Correct.
And then what would happen? How would that Hugh card interact with my blood in order to get an answer quickly?
Yeah. So let's take a step back and let's talk about something we're all familiar with, the home pregnancy test, right? You put urine on a stick, you get a result, yes or no, in minutes, right? We do that, but for everything else. So your blood is placed on a Hugh card or your urine or saliva, depending on what diagnostic you're looking at. And then within an hour, you have results of what your lab results are, and your doctor could actually act on that. So we are the home pregnancy test for everything else.
So the Hugh card is literally, or like the other thing I'm thinking about, the keto diet and the keto sticks, and people are peeing on the keto sticks to see whether they're in ketogenesis. So the Hugh card is actually a reactive neutral material that can then have blood or urine placed on it. And if the diagnostic for mono or the diagnostic for, it depends, the spectrum of, rotavirus or whatever is on that card, you can more quickly confirm, get a positive or a negative on everything that can possibly be diagnosed using a dipstick test, for lack of a better word.
Pretty much. And it's even farther than that. So we not only give you a yes or no, we give you a quantitative result. And that's really important because one of the things that lack in point of care testing is this yes or no. yes, you're positive with COVID, but how sick are you with COVID? Well, we could give you a quantitative result that says, okay, you need treatment now, or you have a mild case of COVID based on how much virus is in your body. The second thing that we offer that no one else does is we're not just offering, okay, we manufacture a pregnancy test, or we manufacture a COVID test, or we manufacture this one test. We're a platform. Anyone can put many different tests on our platform easily. They don't have to design the dipstick per se, or our hue card. It's not a dipstick per se, but it's, the functionality of one. They don't need to design a new mobile app to read it. We have that platform ready. They just drop in their assay and off to the races they go.
And so, but because I'm most interested, the digital aspects I can imagine. I'm very interested in the physical aspects where, again, a dipstick is obviously the wrong, a test stick. How about, can we call it a test stick? For purposes of test strip. There you go. So you have this HuRx test strip, and the test strip can have an assay, which is a data map, if you will, for a particular molecular or biological form that can be identified to it exists or it doesn't exist, pregnant, not pregnant, COVID, no COVID, down the line. And you're saying you can put any assay for anything that could be diagnosed using a test strip on your test strip. Is that correct?
Any is really, really broad. And as a scientist, I don't like to use words like
you can put many.
Many different things. One of the things that we're looking at is liver function, kidney function, infectious diseases, sexually transmitted infections. We're looking at things like women's health, looking at hormone panels, men's health hormone panels, cancer screening, traumatic brain injury. So there's a myriad of things you can place on our tests, and it's really drop and go. Each card can hold up to 6 assays. So 6 assays of the many of your choosing.
And so if you have, so you can hold 6 assays on a single test strip or test card.
Correct.
Does the doctor, so if I'm the doctor and you're the patient, do I need to have a pre-existing assay on that card? Or can you come in and say, well, look, what do you describe your symptoms? Or these symptoms, it means that it's probably one of these 10 things, let's say, but we have to find out. Let's reduce it from those 10 things to find out what it is. Can I basically download the relevant assays onto the test card? Or do the assays have to be pre-existing on that? If I'm the physician, I have to stock those assays.
Right. So they are pre-existing. You do have to have them from us with the right assays on them. But the cool thing is there's an industry standard that has these 6 go together, these 3 go together, these 2 go together. And doctors pretty much know what they order at once, right? Like we've all been through that triple test of RSV, COVID, flu recently. That's kind of the industry standard that those 3 get grouped together. And it's very similar across different testing. So yes, they do come preloaded from, the manufacturer, because they are, a physical assay that's placed in the device, but doctors know what they want to order.
And then the additional aspect, which I don't want to overlook, which you did emphasize, but I want to come back to it because I think it's important, is you're not just measuring for positive or negative in those assays, but it sounds like you're also measuring for degree of intensity of, the parts per million or whatever the relevant ratio is also reflected in the results of your test card. Is that correct?
That is correct. And it's very important. And to go back to our earlier example of the pregnancy test, right now, those test strips that are sold over the counter is positive or negative, right? But what women also often have to face is going back to labs for consecutive draws to make sure their HCG is doubling and the pregnancy is progressing correctly. So right now, it's a very uncomfortable process of going to a lab, waiting 24 hours for your results. Obviously, women who are dealing with infertility, that's a hard wait. Now we could do that right now with a test card in real time with an HCG assay placed on our platform.
So in doing this, are you replacing the lab? In other words, is LabCorp of America less relevant, or whoever the lab testing facility less relevant, because now you basically close the loop between the sample collection, the assay result, and even the order of magnitude of the assay all within the clinic, and you've eliminated the need to even go to the lab with the blood or whatever? Is that how where does this live between something that happens only in the clinic
Right.
and something that happens between the clinic and the lab and back?
That's a great question. And really, we don't replace the lab. We don't also replace the clinic. We are a platform that can be used in many different areas, right? You could use us in the lab for a lower throughput test, but you could also use us at the clinic for a test you don't want to send back to the lab. So we're a platform that we offer. We can work with places like LabCorp. We can work with places like physicians' offices. It's really versatile in how we can do things.
And so then what is the proprietary aspect of what you are doing?
Well, we have a load of IP. A lot of that is based around the physicality of our cue card, how we place paper microfluidics onto our cue card, how our cue card is built.
How you place what on the cue card?
How you place paper microfluidics. It's a type of assay development you would place on our card.
Okay, so it's a specific way of actually placing the assay on the card is part of the IP at the company.
Correct. We also have, what we haven't really talked about yet is our AI and our mobile development technology. So we obviously do a lot. To be able to do a lab test anywhere, you have to balance for lighting conditions and different environmental conditions. A lot of our IP is surrounding those environmental conditions and light balancing, as well as in how we take and process the image and trace it to a quantitative result.
And what are you raising money for right now on Republic?
Yeah, so we're at a great spot right now. We have a lot of IP. We've got, first contract signed. We have several other customers waiting in the wings, but we really are doing this for individuals to get their care faster. And with Republic, we wanted to offer individuals a chance to partner with us and to get in on getting diagnostics to the rest of the world.
But what's the use of funds?
The use of funds would be commercialization. It's building up we obviously have our first customer where we have several other contracts about to be signed. So the use of funds is for bringing the product forward, as well as continued R&D as we develop QCard 2.0, 3.0, et cetera.
And is the barrier to bringing the product forward a function of having the sales force to do the outreach to the labs and the clinics, or is it more a matter of some component of the regulatory process? And what is the regulatory process for a company like yours?
Yeah, so starting with what's the barrier? So right now we have so many inbound requests to use Hue cards. We haven't needed a large sales team. We are building that out, but we have been amazed at the amount of people asking us to use the Hue card. So in regards to what's holding us back, we really are looking for this fundraise to help us ramp up commercialization. We've got people asking to use it, and we can only get them out so fast. We can only onboard customers so fast. It's a great spot to be in. To answer your second question about regulatory approvals, we are the platform that we work with two partners, right? The first partner we work with is the partner putting their assay on our device, and they're the ones sending it out to customers. Obviously, we walk through how a customer would use our device, but we're not putting it directly into doctors' offices. We're selling it to other partners to develop. So we actually don't deal with the regulatory side of things. It's up to our partners who are developing the assay to understand their regulatory component.
So give me an example of who a key partner might be.
For example, a lab who wants to do some of their testing faster, or say another startup who might have a TBI test, or maybe a cancer test, or an anxiety and depression screening that they want to put on a platform, but they don't have a point of care platform of their own. They partner with us, they put it on our platform, and then they go through their own regulatory process.
And so, but the regulatory burden in terms of using the Hue card for a specific diagnostic resides with the lab or the test manufacturer, not with you.
That's correct, because we are the platform that it's placed on. We obviously don't have control of the assay, and that's what's regulated.
Mm-hmm. And there's no issues with toxicity because it doesn't go into a person. Like there's no contact.
So CDRH, the Centers for Devices and Radiological Health of the FDA in the U.S. governs devices. I know that from some of our own internal diagnostics that we do. So they have a whole set of procedures for diagnostics that are external or ex vivo.
Is there a specific domain that you're focused on? In other words, is whether it's cancer testing or whether it's blood work, or like, is there a specific either domain you're focused on, or is there a specific perhaps domain or industry subgroup or medical category where you're seeing particularly strong demand?
Yeah, so we're versatile across many diagnostic fields, not even just medical. People could use us for agricultural, for food safety, for water testing, soil testing, all of those things. However, the greatest demand we've seen is medical testing. Across medical testing, we have individuals in all areas who are interested in using us, including general purpose labs who have a large amount of high throughput samples they'd like across the board. So I couldn't point to one thing and say, oh, hey, it's here. However, I have seen a lot of increased interest in women's health as of recently, particularly hormonal testing. So I do see that as a hotspot, but more from an industry perspective versus actually, who's incoming onto our platform. It's really a wide variety of people who can see usage in this case.
Yeah. And how long has the business existed?
So we've been around since 2017, but the HuDX platform as a whole was launched externally in February of this year. Prior to that, we were developing some of our own assays and put a lot of work into the core tenets of this technology. But this has only been available to the public since February, and we already have one customer signed and quite a few waiting in the wings to be signed as well.
And is the reason that you transitioned away from doing your own assays on your own card to making the card a platform for anybody's assay because you basically saw the value of the IP that you have in the word that I can't pronounce that you mentioned, the multifaceted something on
Microfluidics.
the microfluidics on the card itself? Was there a moment where you said, oh, instead of us selling our test card using our microfluidics with our assays, we could put our microfluidics on our test card with anybody's assay? At what point did that realization set in?
Yeah, so we can only build assays so fast. It's a time-intensive, labor-intensive process for a startup. And what we realized was we wanted to impact patients here, patients in developing countries, patients who need diagnostics quicker, faster, cheaper. And if we expanded this to a platform and included other people in this process, we would reach our patients faster than just doing it ourselves. From a business perspective, it meant holding a massive amount of IP on a wide variety of things. It meant commercialization and revenue sooner. So it certainly made sense from a business perspective, but it also made sense from an ethical perspective for ourselves as well.
Brianna, it's a pleasure to make the acquaintance.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Brianna Ronco, the founder and CSO at HuDX. You can find them on the Republic platform where they are raising money. You are watching Bootstrapping. I am Dylan Ratigan, and there's more Tasty Live coming up right after this.